500 บาทเสียก็ทิ้งไปดิพี่เอาดีวีดีพี่เอาพี่ขึ้นไปเลยนะเว้ยโอ๊ย
Toby was just an ordinary student, not particularly good at studying, but completely hooked on computer games. He and his friends would even play games during class. He discovered that he could earn money from winning these games, and he started using the cash for himself. One day, he took a credit card from the family's old butler and linked it to his gaming account. When he earned a large sum, he decided to buy a brand new car. When Tobe drove the car to school, he was immediately called to the principal's office. The teacher considered calling his parents, but Tobe suggested instead that they could simply deduct merits. The teacher reminded him that he didn't even have enough merits to lose. Tobe, refusing to accept defeat, insisted that he could pay for the new neon sign for the school. The teacher firmly told him that bribing the school was not allowed and asked why he could not follow the example of his older siblings and graduate as a proper student. Concerned about his future, she scolded him a little more before letting him go. Outside the office, a crowd of students had gathered around Tobe's new car, admiring it. Toby ignored them, took his girlfriend with him, and went out to buy her food while driving around town in the shiny new vehicle. Later that night, he returned home, parked the car outside, and asked the butler to bring it inside. Trying to sneak in quietly so as not to wake his parents, he was startled when the butler, unfamiliar with cars, accidentally triggered the alarm. Inside the house, Tobe's parents were waiting by the stairs. His father scolded him for returning so late and for spending money on a car. He warned that if Tobe continued to waste money, it could lead the family into bankruptcy. Toby explained that the money was earned from his gaming victories, but his father told him to focus on studying seriously or face the consequences. After delivering this stern message, his father left. His mother, however, told Toby that they only wished for him to study well and not to worry them excessively before she left as well. As the years passed, Tobe's obsession with gaming persisted. It was now time for university, but he was rejected by most public universities. Still not taking his studies seriously, he went out and purchased a PlayStation and a DVD player to continue gaming. When he returned home, his parents asked about his university admission. He said he had been accepted into a private university and it wasn't very expensive. His father, skeptical of his commitment, suggested he attend a community college instead, fearing that Tobe would not take his studies seriously. Toby insisted that he had the funds to pay for himself. His mother tried to mediate, asking his father to allow him to go to a private university. While his parents argued, Toby went to his room to play video games, only to find that his account had been deleted. Determined to continue his gaming, he returned to the electronics shop and bought a large batch of DVDs at a discount. Back at home, when he tried to show his parents the DVD players, one broke before he could even use it. The shopkeeper explained that the DVDs had no warranty or exchange policy, which is why they were cheap, and insisted that Tobe discard them. In a fit of frustration, Tobe smashed a mirror table in the shop. The shopkeeper slapped him, but Toby ran away before receiving further punishment. On the way home, Toby offered his father a ride. His father reminded him that business was serious work, giving him some money to study anywhere he wanted. But when Tobe insisted he wasn't being employed by his father, the money was taken back. Undeterred, Toby pawned his father's amulet and retrieved $100,000 in cash. He returned to school with the money but continued to skip classes. In the auditorium, he noticed his girlfriend practicing for a drama performance. She approached him after rehearsal but refused to go out, citing her own commitments to classes and further rehearsal. Toby wandered into a busy market where various types of machinery were being demonstrated. Stalls offered free samples of the food produced by the machines. Toby watched attentively as a vendor explained the features of a chestnut roasting machine. He learned that it was the first of its kind in the country and had been imported from Japan. Instantly fascinated, Tobe decided to purchase it despite its high price, reasoning that being the first to own it would be a great advantage. When he returned home with the machine, his father scolded him, pointing out that he could have rented one much more cheaply at weekend markets. Undeterred, Tobe went further into research. He visited an elderly chestnut vendor, learning every step and technique necessary for perfect chestnuts. He continued gathering knowledge from multiple sources and experimented at home, striving for excellence. His first batch was tasted by the butler, who approved. Then he presented the chestnuts to his mother, who praised their flavor. Later, while his father hosted a business friend, both men sampled Tobe's chestnuts. The friend complimented the quality and inquired about the source, to which Tobe's father explained that his son had roasted them himself. The friend admired Tobe's diligence. Toby purchased a spot in a mall to sell his chestnuts. The location was surrounded by numerous other food vendors. On the first day, Tobe and his butler, Twang, worked together. Seeing sales were slow, Tobe asked the old vendor why. The man explained that older sellers could not project their voices as loudly. Tobe insisted they had to actively attract customers using loud calls and hand gestures. Later, Tobe visited a local clothing market where he met his girlfriend. While talking, she mentioned she was unpaid for her acting. Angered by this unfairness, Tobe fumed. While speaking with her, Toby received a call from Tuang. The old chestnut vendor informed him that sales had been poor due to heavy competition. When he returned, his girlfriend questioned who he was speaking to, but Toby reassured her it was only Twang and nothing to worry about. Observing donations being given to others, Toby was inspired and sought to move his stall to a more advantageous location. The mall management refused, explaining that moving the stall required waiting until the end of the month or forfeiting the current rental fee. They highlighted that the current location was prime, and he would quickly recoup his investment. One day, while taking an exam in class, Tobe's phone kept ringing. At first, he ignored it, but eventually he stood, retrieved the phone, and prepared to answer. The teacher warned that picking up the phone would be considered cheating. Thinking quickly, Tobe grabbed his bag and phone and left the classroom. He immediately headed to the mall with a bag of chestnuts and was thrilled to see a strong crowd at his stall on the first day. Excited, he suggested to the old vendor that they expand, but the vendor advised patience. Undeterred, Tobe later opened another stall. At this new location, his girlfriend confronted him, saying they could no longer date because she knew little about him and had been informed about his business by someone else. Concerned for his future, she expressed her worries. Toby contacted the friend who had told her, who clarified that she had misunderstood, believing Toby was being unfaithful. Later, the mall manager confronted Toby, saying that smoke from his chestnut stall was staining the ceiling. If not addressed, his contract would be terminated. Toby pledged to fix it. With Twang's help, he began painting the ceiling after the mall closed so customers would not be disturbed. At night, his mother joined to assist. The next morning, a small portion remained unpainted when mall security arrived. Toby offered money for extra time, but the officer refused, instructing his mother to intervene. She reminded him to prepare his passport the next day, but Tobe was resolute, insisting he would complete the task on his own. His mother then revealed the family was relocating to China due to overwhelming debt. Furious, Tobe demanded details. Claiming that his chestnut business could cover the debt, he refused to leave. During passport photos, he declared he would stay, study locally, and even offered to work under his father to earn money for schooling. His parents departed for China without him. At the airport, his father advised leaving the chestnuts behind and focusing on school. The following morning, Toby returned to finish the ceiling painting, but the mall manager insisted he remove all his stalls. At home, he discovered a bankruptcy notice on his door, which he angrily discarded. Wandering through the market, he met his girlfriend, hugged her, and cried. She urged him to abandon the chestnut business and return to school, promising her support. Inspired by her suggestion, he conceived a new venture, frying seaweed. Toby went to the bank to request a loan. Initially, the bank officer refused, explaining that there were too many pending applications. Undeterred, Toby pleaded to have his story heard. The manager finally agreed, but warned that he would have only one opportunity to convince him. Toby recounted everything, the difficulties he had encountered while attempting to fry seaweed, including the scar he had received in the process, and the fact that his large batch had gone stale. He described how he had sought guidance from a food and nutrition university, learning about vacuum packing and other techniques to prevent spoilage. Encouraged, Toby returned home, purchased a large quantity of seaweed, and with Twang's help, began testing frying methods repeatedly to achieve perfection. Twang continued experimenting, providing feedback after each batch. Toby promised to fund more seaweed, even selling his old computer and gadgets to cover the costs. Twang, discouraged by repeated setbacks and expenses, considered quitting, but Toby remained determined, insisting they could recover the losses once they perfected the process. A call from his girlfriend reminded Toby that it was the last day to register for classes. He rushed to register on time and returned home that evening with boxes of seaweed. As rain poured down, he tried to contact Twang to fry more, but received no response. Searching for him, Toby found Twang unconscious and bleeding. He rushed him to the hospital with his uncle and anxiously waited. Fortunately, Twang was stable and would be discharged in a few days. They resumed frying the seaweed, now producing a batch good enough for sale. The business restarted on a positive note. Tobe's mother called to wish him a happy birthday, mentioning that his father wanted to speak with him. His father reminded him to study diligently so that he could join the family in China next semester. Tobe insisted he had already purchased his tickets. He pressed his father about the family's debt and eventually learned they owed $40 million, leaving him shocked. Returning home, he found another notice on the door, intensifying his worry. Radio speakers offered no useful advice, and he wandered the streets contemplating his next step. Eventually, he learned of a company, 7-Eleven, which bought and sold products nationwide. Taking his seaweed there, he waited anxiously for his turn, practicing his speech in the bathroom. At reception, he forgot to give his name. When the director arrived, she asked him to leave the product since she had only 10 minutes before a meeting. Toby insisted he present it. The director initially rejected the seaweed, citing faults and high cost, but advised him that most sales began in urban areas before expanding to larger cities. Upon returning, Tobe's girlfriend waited. She offered to help, but Tobe, frustrated by repeated rejections, lashed out and locked himself away. He cried to Tuong, lamenting his mistakes, but Tuong reassured him to stay positive. The next morning, Toby redesigned his packaging and returned to 7-Eleven, but the director was unavailable. Feeling defeated, he gave his seaweed to a security guard and sat at a bus stop, calling his mother in despair. Later, the company sampled the seaweed and loved it. Soon, Toby received official approval. His product would be delivered to 3,000 branches after passing GMP inspection. Faced with the financial demands of the first order, the bank still refused a loan due to his youth. Tobe sold his car to fund supplies, but found it still insufficient. Concerned about failure, Tuong encouraged him to maintain hope. They rented a shop and prepared for inspection, with Tobe insisting on following proper procedures instead of bribing officials. Some minor cleanliness complaints arose, but no immediate action was taken. Once resolved, they passed the GMP inspection. When delivering for the first time, Toby was nervous, but Tuong reassured him even though they arrived an hour late. Tobe successfully completed his first round of deliveries to all 7-Eleven stores, managing to get the packages to each location despite his initial anxiety and fears of delay. The deliveries went without major issues, and his seaweed was well received by both the staff and the customers. Over the next 2 years, Tobe continued to work tirelessly on refining his product and expanding his business network. His dedication paid off as he fully repaid his parents' debts, restoring financial stability to his family. He moved back into his family's old home and continued to manage his growing company from there. With each passing month, his business reached new heights, gradually expanding from local markets to nationwide coverage. Eventually, the success of his company crossed borders, and Tobe's seaweed products began selling internationally. His commitment, perseverance, and innovative approach to the business made him an industry leader. By the end of this journey, Toby had achieved a remarkable milestone. He became the youngest billionaire in the world. And that is how it ended. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And you can find this movie in the description below or our comment section. Thanks for watching.